Okay, so my individual research report for Think Tank is about the Cold War. So the Cold War was a long period of aggression between Soviet Russia, or the Warsaw Pact, and the USA/NATO that started in 1945 and ended in 1991. Soviet Russia, or Warsaw, the Warsaw Pact was like a faction. It was a group of countries that were all like communist and sort of fell under the Soviet Union, but was sort of in like a club thing of countries called the Warsaw Pact, or just Warsaw. And the U.S. had their own, which was NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and Warsaw is the capital of Poland, which I assume is where they made the deal to like initiate all the countries into it or whatever. And North Atlantic Treaty Organization involved Western Europe, so England, France, West Germany, Spain, Italy, that kind of stuff, those things, and the U.S. and Canada. And the Warsaw Pact involved Eastern Europe, Russia, and like North Korea. I don't think China ever joined, but they were friendly to the Soviet Union because they helped them create the country. And Vietnam, I think. So it consisted of 46 years of proxy wars, arms development, and general hate between the Warsaw Pact and NATO. It all started when World War II finished, when the Soviet Union took control over East Germany and puppeted and also annexed a lot of Eastern Europe. The rest of Europe was scared because the Soviet Union had nukes, but the US also had nukes, so that kind of evened the playing field, even though if they all deployed their nukes, it would even every playing field, like level every playing field. And in 1945, the People's Republic of China broke out into war with the Republic of China, and the Communists won after a massive encirclement called the Long March, backed by Soviet supplies and like help. So, and in 1950, the Soviets occupied North Korea and Manchuria. Later, they gave Manchuria to the People's Republic of China, which is just called China now. Attacked North Korea attacked the U.S.-supported South Korea. The war lasted until 1953 when a stalemate was reached. And I think technically they still are at war, but I mean the conflict was ended. And what's funny is the demilitarized zone in between is actually the most militarized zone in the world, which is kind of like ironic. Then the Vietnam War lasted from 1954 to 1976 with the Soviet victory, where they backed the northern communists, or the Viet Cong, and the U.S. backed the southern communists. And a lot of the other ones, the U.S. didn't really win. There was the Cuban Missile Crisis, which wasn't really a proxy war. That was just when Khrushchev sent over a bunch of nukes threatening the U.S., and that caused like a bunch of like world tension, and like that was pretty much the height of the Cold War, and a bunch of others, and they just threatened a lot the whole time with nukes, because they each made bigger and bigger nukes. And but the US's nukes could actually hit Moscow because they had bases in West Germany and that area, but Russia's nukes could hit almost all of the major European cities. So, like, if the U.S. struck them, they would strike them, and then Russia could also, like, they had submarines that had nuclear warheads armed in them. So if they sent a submarine to like the East Coast, they could nuke Washington. Same thing with the U.S. could send it to like near Leningrad, which is now St. Petersburg, and also nuke that. So there was a lot of like tension with nukes. But the Cold War, so most people say that the U.S. won just because, you know, the Soviet. Yeah, well, I'll get into that, but actually the USSR, which is the Soviet Union, it's United Soviet State, or no, something like that, United something, which sounds a lot like the USA, funnily enough, won most of the proxy wars, so they won most of the wars, but, wow. Okay, they won most of the wars, but the Cold War was actually ended with the Soviet Union capitulating and splitting up, which means basically dying, and they split up into a bunch of things, now forming the Russian Republic, which is now Putin ruled, which now also hates the U.S. again. Um, After this, no one could challenge the U.S.'s strength and economy, leaving the U.S. as the only superpower left. But probably in about 50 years or so, China will rival the U.S., and that's a big deal because I think they also have nuclear weapons. Um, but right now, the U.S. is trying to impose laws against China to sort of not embargo them, but push them into submission by helping the countries around them to make sure they're not getting too powerful and avoid another Cold War. So yeah, in recap, it was just a bunch of smaller wars, all part of one big aggressive political conflict, and there was a lot of nuclear threatening involved. Not a single nuke was detonated against another country in the war, which was really lucky because if that happened, all the nukes would fire and then everyone would die, like Fallout, the game. And yeah.